On that day, Prentice White and his team traveled far to Source City's downtown area for a mission. But unexpectedly, a torrential rain started pouring down halfway. While rushing on the road, a terrifying inn suddenly appeared. On a rainy night, the innkeeper's demeanor seamlessly blended with the atmosphere of the inn. Prentice White bravely stepped forward to negotiate a request. They sought shelter, but were ruthlessly turned away. The boss stared at Prentice White through his glasses until his eyes were fixed. He confirmed his paladin identity. The boss reluctantly agreed to keep him. The hotel or building is in a dilapidated condition, both inside and out. I look inside and see a large number of old, broken dolls, feeling puzzled. In front of the team, the old glasses lead the way, and don't forget to set rules for Prentice White, etc. Firstly, 2 rooms that have not been lived in for a long time need to be cleaned by themselves. Secondly, the second floor is off limits. Otherwise, the consequences are at your own risk. After the boss made a speech about preparing for death, if nothing happens that night, it will be a letdown. The atmosphere was set, and in the evening, Prentice White finally laid down to rest. He found that Golden, that kid, had been gone for a long time in the bathroom. At this time, there was a knocking sound outside the door. Linda, who was only wearing pajamas behind the door, blushed with embarrassment. He asked to squeeze in with Prentice White and others. She justified it as being thrifty with accommodation expenses. We Steel Straight Men were just about to refuse, but he suddenly had an epiphany. From the moment Linda entered the hostel, this guy. She started to look nervous and pale. Could it be someone who is usually fearless? The aloof Linda is actually afraid of ghosts. Linda is a pillow output, you. Have you said enough? But suddenly, what would be the consequences of being a single dog and acting alone in the haunted house dungeon? Of course, accompany with me and a Piao for an adventure. Subscribe to my channel now, then turn on the bell notification feature, add another person, and you can avoid a Piao. Try it if you don't believe me. Here, Prentice White meets Linda, who is afraid of ghosts, and Linda asks to stay overnight in the room. Golden was not so lucky when he went out to use the bathroom. Golden walked in the squeaky corridor. He noticed residual traces of magic power around the hostel. Golden suspected that a strange figure appeared around the corner. He suddenly turned around, only to find nothing there. TSK. Indeed, Ah Piao is so annoying. Golden is looking for the entrance of the inn. As they entered, creepy dolls were everywhere, but they had already disappeared. A doll on the stairs beside him kept looking at Golden with a ghostly smile. Golden quickly caught up, but got lost due to the dim light inside the building. He lit up the corner of the dark night, and the doll's footsteps were clearly visible. Golden patrols inside the house. Only a winged python sculpture is seen. The sculpture in front is too familiar. Golden falls into contemplation. A phantom quickly approaches from behind. Golden's strike is easily dodged with a quick turn. The doll laughs playfully and retreats to the second-floor room. Golden is helpless and once again goes to the room, where the light remains dim. Golden goes to the cabinet and pulls open the door. "Hello there! Let's play together." In an instant, countless dolls swarm over. Golden struggled desperately, but gradually disappeared into the darkness. Linda has fallen asleep over here. Prentice White remembered Golden, who had not returned for a long time. He chose to go out and check on him. Prentice White found his boss's old glasses. He inquired whether he had seen the blue-haired young man looking for the restroom tonight. But he was met with the boss's infinite panic. "If there is a hostel filled with mystery and allure, would you dare to stay there? This is a cursed house. Decades ago, when it was still a wooden factory, a fire took away the lives of the owner's family of 4. Shortly after being renovated into a hostel, there were continuous complaints from guests. Some claim that in the middle of the night, Apiao would be disco dancing in the rooms, while some bold guests who tried to join in would mysteriously disappear without a trace. Even the Paladin's order couldn't figure out what was really happening. But it was such an unclear in that our Paladin King Sky Radiant unexpectedly checked in that day. Within less than 2 hours of checking in that night, we lost one of our blue-haired teammates. It wasn't until this moment that the boss revealed the truth, but if he wants to go up to the second floor and face death, that's his choice. Sorry for the disturbance. Princess White reluctantly brought scaredy-cat Linda along and headed straight for the second floor. Linda thought about what the boss had said. She clearly understood the implications. But considering that Wizard Kid was also her companion, waiting until dawn to rescue him may be too late. Princess White followed the footprints and found his way to the room on the third floor. Inside the room, there were countless shattered mirrors and dolls identical to those on the first floor. Careful Linda noticed that the dolls' clothes were embroidered with names. Just as she was about to read a name, the dolls on the wall stared with wide eyes, hovering in midair. "Are you looking for me?" Linda, who was already afraid of ghosts, almost had a heart attack. Fortunately, Princess White intervened in time to prevent the situation from escalating. The doll that could be cut off unexpectedly had fresh red liquid in its neck. In an instant, all the dolls in the room flew up into the air. The dolls kept greeting the two unlucky individuals non-stop. Turning back around, the dolls that were just covered in blood miraculously restored themselves. Then it followed the large group and rushed up with them. Princess White wielded his sword decisively to defend himself. But the dolls are not only numerous, but can also self-restore. The two of them are trying not to be wiped out. Princess White pulled Linda along to start hiding everywhere. At this time, the boss who initially refused to save people asked Princess White to hide in the room for refuge. Once the door was closed, the room was temporarily safe, facing the continuous knocking of dolls outside the door. The boss was also on the brink of a mental breakdown. It's all these lingering spirits. This place will be sold sooner or later. Linda still firmly believes. Princess White doesn't want to act anymore. He directly interrupted the spell casting. "Boss, your acting skills are pretty good." He is the innkeeper who runs around the shop, looking after things. He is the cold-hearted man with glasses, who doesn't help when the main characters lose their companions. He is also the one leading the main characters into a safe house. The boss revealed that the haunted dolls have been around for many years. Despite trying every method, they were unable to do anything about it, and now they have put the main characters in a difficult situation. They have decided to sell this place now. But the main characters are not fools either. How could ordinary people endure a piao for so many years? Also, the boss's initial attitude of refusing customers seems more like hiding an unspeakable secret. And what most convinced Princess White was the magical traces on the boss. Golden had long set up a protective barrier in the room. Anyone who approaches the room will be marked by it. The dim light inside the secure room makes the magical light more visible. So the puppet outside the door must be controlled by the boss. Where is the missing Golden? The boss remained silent in the face of Princess White's reasoning. He then smirked when the blue-haired kid refused to listen and discovered the secret on the second floor. In that case, become a floating doll. But in fact, the boss did not mean to harm everyone. Just make sure not to mention anything that happened inside the house once Princess White leaves. Negotiating to remove the magic from the boy with blue hair and leave safely are both things that can be discussed. However, this fair deal is interpreted differently in Linda's mind. So are the Anna dolls in the house all created by the boss using people? Princess White's mind is even clearer. Using people as magical props is illegal trafficking. He strongly demands the removal of magic, otherwise Paladin will handle it. Watching potential cooperation turn to nothing, the boss has no intention of wasting words on these two youngsters who don't understand a thing. With a wave of his hand, The flying APL army instantly broke through the door. The boss keeps using magic power to constantly control the puppet for attacking and regenerating. As long as I'm here, no one can reveal the secret technique of this house. But the next second, the puppet suddenly falls down with a loud noise. The injured puppet unexpectedly encounters a situation where it cannot regenerate. Seeing this, the puppets all started to step back. The boss stepped forward and used a cane to block the attack. Prentice White hasn't figured out why the boss wants to protect these puppets yet. The boss, however, took off his hat and asked Prentice White for a one-on-one duel. Prentice White stared at the boss's blue devil horns. Next to him, the blue liquid kept surging, like chains binding the soul of a forbidden copper, surrounding Prentice White and Linda one after another. Prentice White is still struggling desperately. The puppets on the ground have begun chanting and launching attacks. In a trance, Prentice White sees Princess Moon waving at him. What allows this entity to freely switch between male and female attributes? The male protagonist forgets he is in danger. The soft call of the younger sister makes Prentice White forget his dangerous situation. As if everything that had happened in the past never occurred, Prentice White couldn't help but reach out to greet Princess Moon. But before their hands could touch, the space behind them suddenly ruptured, and Princess Moon gradually disappeared. The shattering delusion sword spirit, an illusion that emerged in the void, dissipated with just a reaching hand. This is enough to make one intoxicated with dreams and death in the gentle land. Just shattered into a cruel reality, Boss Bolton watches as magic power is gradually dissolving. He sees the opportunity while not being attacked again. But he was defeated by Prentice White and Linda in one blow. The dolls on the side surrounded one after another. As the sun rose, the dolls unexpectedly transformed into flesh and blood children. Prentice White Linda didn't have time to inquire about the reason. The Paladin's order has already broken in. Don't move. Accusing everyone of harboring missing orphans, they will bring all individuals back to the Paladin's order for investigation. As a member of the Lunar Paladin Order, Prentice White is familiar with this high wall and iron fence. After a simple inquiry, they were released by the Paladin. But when Prentice White asked about the puppets on the scene, the Paladin had never seen them, let alone any missing travelers for no reason. It is said that the former owner of the apartment was an old Paladin, and after his son inherited the apartment, a fire broke out. Rumors have been circulating that the inn is haunted and is related to the Paladin's son and his family. In reality, there have been no incidents of guests going missing. That night, the Prentice White party discovered that the inn was heavily surrounded by the Paladin's order. The deliberate fabrications of the landlord, combined with the sudden intrusion of the Paladin's order, indicate that this inn is not simple. In both versions of the inn story, the mention of a big fire must refer to the disaster in the East City district many years ago. The fire destroyed the entire outskirts of East City. After the disaster, the Paladin's order attempted to rebuild the East City district, but was repeatedly obstructed by supernatural events. It seems that Bolton must have done it, since Bolton is determined to prevent others from approaching the house at all costs. Prentice White must definitely be turned upside down tonight. But it's a bit troublesome to distract Paladin, who is patrolling at the door. Golden skillfully disguised himself and accused Linda of plotting wrongdoing to Paladin. Linda looked helpless and pretended to escape. Paladin wanted to chase, but was held back by Golden. Prentice White looked at the teammate who sacrificed themselves without hesitation, feeling grateful in his heart. The inn was empty. All the items on the scene had been searched through by the Paladin's order. Patrolling to the third floor, Prentice White discovered a secret passage hidden behind a wooden board, even though the cabinet in front was empty. At the end of the secret passage were a mirror and 13 pieces of paper placed on display. These are 4 black paper and 9 white paper. Could it be corresponding to the 13 holy power families in the temple? The circular markings on the mirror are confusing and hard to make sense of. The mirror changed during contemplation. The reflection shows the figure of the White Princess, but Princess White hasn't figured out the truth yet. In the mirror, the White Princess is extremely anxious, grabbing Princess White and laughing hysterically. Since this illusion is so actively trying to come up with ideas, let it roam around freely. Then he should act like a gentleman and welcome it with open arms. He knocked his knee and shifted the blame, causing the counterfeit to fall and unable to get up. Counterfeit goods are trying to find a place to settle down. But Princess White currently has no time for this. He has figured out the sleight of hand trick. Take another look at this mirror. The mirror surprisingly shows signs of magical power. Who knew that the next second, two infernal creatures appeared out of nowhere? Although Princess White reacted quickly, but still ends up at a disadvantage. This mirror at this cosplay dangerous perpetual motion machine, constantly producing dangerous elements. Afraid not random transmission from linked different spacetime. The principle of destroying when in danger. Princess White chose to destroy it with one blow before speaking, but unexpectedly, there was a formation on the mirror that protected Princess White from any damage even after the blow. The edges of the mirror are covered in dust, indicating that it may be a relic left by the previous owner of the inn many years ago. When the secret of the mirror was discovered back then, it couldn't be destroyed, so it was only sealed here. Therefore, for so many years, the eastern suburbs have been peaceful and safe. The hidden passage by Bitten scared away guests from entering, but did not cause any harm. Is he also guarding the secret of this mirror? But these are just his speculations, without any evidence. If he wants to know the truth, he can only go back to the prison of the Paladin's order. He is the Paladin King who protects justice in the hearts of the people. Sky Radiant. But now, he is skulking on the rooftop, observing the shift change at the adjacent prison. He is indeed the most cowardly one among the Paladins. The cells detaining the demonkin in the prison are equipped with a formation locked onto the doors. Forcefully breaking through it will trigger an alarm and cause a riot. This lock can only be opened using a key with enchanted properties. Princess White is still hesitating whether to seek help from the White Princess. He accidentally stumbled upon the opening of a strange locksmith's new shop. This young man accurately captures potential clients, but in this manga about 800 scheming teenagers, he can only be seen as suspicious. The man shamelessly boasts that he can handle anything from small keys to opening safes. As long as it is related to locks, it's all child's play for him. Just as he was about to worry, a locksmith showed up at the door right away. This would be considered a coincidence in a comedy, but in this comic where there are 800 ulterior motives per person on average, there must be something more to it. The locksmith knew that empty words wouldn't impress customers, so he displayed his masterpiece. The all-purpose key with flowing energy and inscribed with a curse. Don't just talk about the treasury. This thing can easily open the doors of even the Paladin prison cells for repeat offenders. Now open for business with great discounts. Limited quantities, first come first served. This hardcore advertisement is indeed effective wherever it is placed. After a moment of silence, Princess White decisively made a purchase. On his way out, the young man thoughtfully reminded that the underground dungeon of the Paladin's order was where the real value lies. Following the young man's guidance, Princess White easily found the entrance to the demonkin dungeon. He successfully opened it. Princess White got straight to the point in the cell, asking about the secret of the grid map in the secret passage. While in the apartment, Princess White felt that he was being deliberately led to find the papers. Could all of this be Bolton's arrangement? In fact, Bolton knows nothing at all. The fire that year burned Bolton's relatives and friends to death. Bolton used his unique racial ability to awaken them and place them in puppets. Perhaps they felt that Princess White was not a bad person and led the way. But compared to the home shattered and lives lost in the big fire, he seems even more miserable surviving in the world today. Bolton was saved by the old Paladin back then, but ended up alone. Soon after, the old Paladin left Source City and entrusted the house and belongings to Bolton for safekeeping. Prentice White hadn't had a chance to ask further questions before the voice of the Paladin's order was heard outside the door. The sound grew closer and Prentice White decided to break the prison cell and escape with someone. But Coburn still refused to leave. He wouldn't leave Source City until he saw old Paladin, and if he left the cell now, the apartment would be searched again. The most important thing is that Paladin's order will not let him off easily. Prentice White doesn't understand why Bolton, who only committed the crime of obstructing reconstruction work, is being pursued relentlessly by the Paladin order. But the footsteps are getting closer. Prentice White can only choose to evacuate quickly as well. A man illegally entered the prison only to seek the truth behind the supernatural. Unexpectedly, the other party is a loyal and straightforward person who has been creating supernatural events for many years without knowing what he is protecting. Only strange totem, a black dot represents a mirrored face. The clue that was said is practically meaningless. Prentice White and others have not yet understood its meaning. However, a severe explosion occurred in the city. Look at the towering flames of the explosion and the constant shaking of the divine sword. Prentice White knows that if nothing unexpected happens, something unexpected is about to happen. Within the southern city walls, the blood-red vines continue to spread. The crowds hunted by the gigantic creatures emit waves of wailing. You should know that this Source City is the headquarters of the Radiant Paladin's Order. The public security conditions here are not comparable to those of ordinary city-states. So Golden is convinced that this is a sneak attack by the ancestral god religion. 3 people use skills to drive the giant spider back step by step to the corner. As the invaders continue to increase, if they do not cut off the source, it will be endless. During the fight, the tremors of the divine sword grew stronger. Prentice White followed the direction and indeed found the source of the flesh vine. After he swung his sword, the flesh vine easily disintegrated. He found that the real source turned out to be a mirror of the same kind as the one in the Bolton house. The mirror summoned infernal creature and flesh vine, thus causing this disturbance. Prentice White wants to try destroying the mirror again, but behind him came a loud noise. The Paladin's order gathered to escort the Paladin King to inspect the scene. Prentice White looked at this false Paladin King acting in a domineering manner, and he was immediately filled with anger. He dismissed Golden and Linda and headed straight to the Paladin King. Unexpectedly, the fake Paladin King ran away as soon as he could. He kept jumping between tall buildings. Prentice White didn't know how long he had been chasing before stopping. But he suddenly became alert. He is the renowned former Paladin King. But he has to travel around for survival. Whether entering the sewer or prying open the prison door, it's just the small things Prentice White does for the world. Last time, it was mentioned that Prentice White tracked the counterfeit goods to the rooftop, but the other party immediately admitted their mistake. The fake Paladin's own memory has been baptized by the Paladin's order formation, leaving very little remaining. The body is also sealed in thick iron armor, never to be released. Although his own memory is fragmented, he always remembers that the Paladin's order is preparing to summon a higher rank race. Although he cannot find evidence to prove these things now, he just feels that talking to the people in front of him will make a difference. The fake Paladin took out a damaged crystal. Handed over to Prentice White, while a purple magic power keeps surging around him. It seems very important, and needs to be given to someone. Not long after, Prentice White will meet with Linda and others again. Prentice White referred to Bolton's statement, and then combined it with the location from the city gate to the inn. Finally, he deduced the location of the red dot to be the downtown amusement park. Lancy also found that the strange point on the formation diagram is the summoning spell for Despair tier based on the feedback. By using mirrors from 6 different directions as aids, the coordinates can summon a higher rank race on a different plane. Paladin's order relentlessly pursues Bolton, who guards the mirror, and it seems like there are results. the Paladin's order plans to sacrifice the townspeople to summon a higher rank race. Prentice White finally realized that the Paladin's order had long changed beyond recognition. They were no longer his colleagues, and he was no longer their leader. What Prentice White needs to do now is to try his best to prevent the disaster from happening. Prentice White and his party did find something unusual when they arrived at the amusement park. The entire park is sealed off tonight, and the Paladin's order has also deployed additional personnel to patrol the entrance. Even Divine Sword keeps issuing warnings. He has had experiences during the day. Prentice White decided to go to Divine Sword to seek directions to investigate further. On the other side, a young girl of noble bloodline appeared within the ancestral god religion, named Sakura Butterfly. Though she appeared aloof, she was deeply loyal to the cloaked figure. Father handled the summoning of the Paladin's order effortlessly this time, but for such an important transaction, it is still necessary to add an extra layer of insurance, just in case. What is this additional insurance then? He was the capable assistant of the late Paladin King. However, he personally trained a puppet to become a fake Paladin King. As a city guardian, he personally arranged the formation to sacrifice the people to summon a higher-ranked race. On that day, Landy noticed that the city's protective shield was intact, but there were monsters invading. The captain not only showed no concern about this, but also didn't bother to arrange for anyone to investigate. Landy, who had experienced the Lanyu incident, suddenly had an ominous premonition. That night, he tracked Captain and indeed found a mysterious cave. Landy hid in the corner and witnessed his former idol Enzi setting up the formation himself. His inner alarm bell rang loudly. The top priority was to inform the other paladins about these dangerous plans. Who knew that Landy was caught red-handed by their own captain before leaving the cave? He faced the captain they usually fought side by side with, drawing his sword against him. Landy could only choose to use stratagem as the best course of action. He immediately ran away after using the explosive attack. Captain stepped forward to obstruct, while upholding a sense of alignment. Just as the sharp holy power is about to turn Landy into a pink hedgehog, Prentice White's sword cut in just in time to save the day. Colleagues who were supposed to live and die together not only drew their swords against each other, but also wanted to risk the lives of the whole city. Prentice White just couldn't understand how backward the ideological education at the Knights Templar Academy was. Nowadays, no matter what explanations Wolfgang and Jayhawk give, Prentice White just doesn't want to understand the feelings of those who harm the people and hurt their colleagues. Prentice White single-handedly suppressed Wolfgang. He defeated Jayhawk with another move. This made Wolfgang Captain can't help but speculate about Prentice White's identity and status. At this time, continuous vibrations came from behind the cave. Wolfgang knew this was a warning that the ceremony was drawing to a close. Soon this city will be torn to pieces by the higher rank race. The team that chose to endure humiliation and carry heavy burdens will eventually triumph. The fake Paladin King in the formation is using their final power. He warned Prentice White to give the necklace to the Chosen One. Enzi keeps injecting magic power to make the imposter lose consciousness. Landy seizes the opportunity to hold back the captain, allowing Prentice White to step forward and terminate the ritual. The captain delivered a big slap and transformed into battle armor. He swears to remain loyal to the great Enzi enterprise unto death. Stop right there! Don't make another mistake! Where is the dignity of being a paladin gone to? Prentice White transforms into the Sky Radiant armor and begins to reminisce about the past. The young man in front of you is the first person who followed you. Not only have I seen their frustration after defeat, but I have also witnessed their growth after enlightenment over the years. Prentice White has silently supported them and has never been disappointed in them. But today, harming the people and injuring colleagues. Every scene in front of Prentice White is extremely disappointed. Enzi watches as his helpers are about to be brainwashed back on track by the teacher. He reminds his teammates that the path they have chosen has no turning back. As members of the Paladin's Order, they also have responsibilities to bear. But it is never too late for anyone to turn back. Princess White believes that it's not too late for both of them to stop before going off the cliff. Wolfgang is maintaining his position and standing firm. He admits that holding a different stance and persevering, even if the opponent is a teacher, is worth it no matter what. Having said that, he injected himself directly with a banned substance. Pay attention to this former Paladin King. He not only witnessed with his own eyes his own students betraying and slaughtering the city, and his heartfelt advice fell on deaf ears. Student Wolfgang's combat power soared wildly after injecting strange medicine. Even at the cost of his body, he is determined to compete on an equal footing with his own teacher. What's the point of competing on equal footing if he uses drugs during the duel? Golden interrupted Wolfgang, the despicable one, and made a dazzling appearance with Linda. Wolfgang only realized at this time that his own teacher was secretly colluding with the vampire wizard, which was not good. He was secretly rubbing his own spine. It's just like a double-standard dog in this world. Linda made a move to control the Jayhawk's sudden attack. Linda knows she doesn't have time to watch Paladin's Order, dog-eat-dog right now. He chose to work with Golden to block Paladin's Order and let Princess White stop the ritual. Landy also realized that facing the current situation alone was not enough. He immediately turned around to go to the temple to bring reinforcements. But suddenly, a black-haired young girl appeared behind him. Her single blow with a long spear knocked Landy to the ground, and he couldn't get up. Afterwards, she turned a deaf ear to Princess White's questioning. Wolfgang watched as Princess Moon repeatedly attacked Princess White with a spear representing the 13 gods. Wolfgang kept mocking like a small-minded person who had achieved a little success. Linda watched as Princess White kept evading without attacking. She had no choice but to try to bind Princess Moon with her magic power. Her crimson magic power wasn't stable yet, and was shattered by the magic power from the same sacred bloodline. Sakura Butterfly also arrived in time to protect their important client's safety and incidentally remove unrelated personnel. But if Princess White didn't understand the situation, how could he willingly let his sister step down? Princess White zealously pursued, and Sakura Butterfly directly used a dagger to cut open the holy power. Sakura Butterfly was disturbed by the continuously drifting holy power sent dispersed by Princess White, causing her to feel mentally tortured and cover her face in pain. Sakura Butterfly waved her 6 pairs of ghost wings in the air, looking down on the ridiculous little mice on the ground. "I will squeeze every drop of blood from you. Offer up your blood." Sakura Butterfly caused mountains to shatter with a mere gesture. The originally dim cave was illuminated by the blood moon. When she turned around, Sakura Butterfly effortlessly summoned the Wasteland God, its illusion pointing directly at Princess White. Princess White pushed Linda aside and charged forward, only to find an empty shell shattered to pieces. In a moment of confusion, Sakura Butterfly found Princess White ready to launch a sneak attack behind her. In the midst of flashing blades and shadows, Sakura Butterfly also fell to the ground in defeat. However, he encountered a powerful enemy while attending the mission. The proud and aloof mature sister sacrificed herself to save others. Is it really that easy to be the Paladin King? In the previous episode, it was mentioned that Princess White and the haughty Linda collaborated seamlessly for the first time. They seized the only chance to ambush and assassinate Sakura Butterfly like cicadas shedding their shells. Here Linda is still stubbornly denying the tacit understanding between the two. On the other side, as the avatar of the Wasteland God dissolves gradually after its defeat, it's time for the main characters to return to the main quest. Stop right there. Behind you, Sakura Butterfly has unexpectedly undergone a rebirth with a severed head. She vowed to capture Princess White and his companions right there. To honor the heroic spirits with the blood of sinners. To comfort the true ancestor with the abyssal gray flame, in the name of the crimson ancestor Lasambo, I chop. Sakura Butterfly actually released the power of the bronze sacred bloodline twice in a short period of time. You should know that Princess White has only seen Lilia's release the power of the sacred bloodline once. Could it be that there is a power beyond that of the Queen? Princess White contemplates as Sakura Butterfly's sacred bloodline descends. Princess White uses holy power to transform into a shield to block attacks. He intends to fight alone to allow Linda and Golden to stop the completion of the ritual. How long can humans of the lower rank race withstand this? How could Linda leave Princess White alone to fight off all of them as a hero? She activated her atavistic physiology by biting her fingertip. After Linda activates her self-restriction, although her blood purity and the power of her magic power will greatly increase, the magic power will also be quickly consumed and depleted. Compared to the second use of the sacred bloodline power by the Sakura Butterfly, this could be considered a futile attempt. The Sakura Butterfly struck Linda with a heavy blow, causing her to faint and be rescued by the White Princess. Sakura Butterfly has no interest in this impure and defective bloodline in front of her. But in a moment of embarrassment, she sees a familiar figure appear. The figure of a white-haired young girl unexpectedly appears beneath the blood moon. The heroine kindly saves her biological sisters from the same origin. But in the next moment, she is unexpectedly overwhelmed. Can the audience watch this without subscribing to the channel? The foolish and guilty white-haired girl follows her father's orders to come and clear the field, but she cannot bring herself to harm the impure little girl. Sakura Butterfly watches as White Princess completes her transformation, but a strange and enchanting phantom appears in her mind. In an instant, her memories flash before her. The war, the iron horses, the broken walls and ruins are constantly present. Sakura Butterfly desperately calls out for her sister Lisambo, wanting to coexist with her. The unrecognizable sister gently strokes the hair of Sakura Butterfly, believing her to be the hope for continuing Lisambo. Sakura Butterfly burst into tears immediately, until she broke free from the memories. Her tears didn't stop either. The opponent remembered and cried on her own before the battle, feeling a bit underestimated by White Princess. She axed down Sakura Butterfly but dodged in time. Sakura Butterfly powered up its attack, with images of her older sister constantly appearing in her mind. She kept stopping herself from taking action against the little girl. They couldn't even concentrate and release a spell. White Princess is not worthy of her fallen teammates if she doesn't kill. White Princess summons the illusion of the Wasteland God, and strikes down Guatemala with one blow. But to her surprise, Sakura Butterfly blocked the attack barehanded behind the smoke. She made White Princess retreat desperately with just one backhand. "Damn Paladin! Do you think I won't kill you just because you've transformed into Blood Princess?" Sakura Butterfly said with her mouth that father's orders are absolute. Memories of Sis kept flashing in her mind. The more she tried to figure it out, the blurrier it became. Now unable to lay hands on the defective goods, she had no choice but to slip away and plan for the long term. Sakura Butterfly traps White Princess, retrieves Guatemala, and immediately flees, only leaving White Princess on the ground looking helpless. The ritual has not been successfully stopped yet, and there are wounded personnel around. White Princess chooses to stay and no longer pursue. White Princess picked up Linda and asked about her injuries. Her arm was firmly grabbed. Linda urgently needs blood due to the hungry disorder caused by atavistic constitution, resulting in unclear consciousness. Linda grabbed White Princess's wrist and skillfully pressed her down. She gently stroked White Princess's snowy white neck, ready to make her move. Pay attention to this little girl who is rescuing her fellow sister. Not wanting to, she was unexpectedly overwhelmed by the mature lady in the next second. She faced the strong onslaught of the mature lady. How could the little Lolita White Princess obediently commit wrongdoings? Her adhesive clay substitute technique made the mature sister Linda eat dirt directly. The supporting female character just wants to suck the blood of our female lead. How could it be so cheap? Prentice White directly binds Linda, and then administers a high concentration of magic power. In consideration of Aunt Curry, White Princess reluctantly helps her to reduce the atavistic side effects. At this time, the wind direction suddenly changes at the edge of the cliff. The magic power in the air is being gradually absorbed. As the ceremony comes to an end, chaos begins to erupt in the city. The civilians, who are constantly being chased by monsters, see the Paladin Templar as their life-saving straw. The civilians voluntarily follow, but are led into a sacrificial formation inside the amusement park. The unsuspecting townspeople thought that the formation was a safe house. Unexpectedly, a beam of light rose into the sky above the city. The originally friendly Paladin's order has started to slaughter. The amusement park turned into a river of blood in no time, causing endless misery. At the same time, Golden still delusionally plans to break the formation with a spell. Once the six-sided mirror is activated, no one can stop the ritual, and all attempts will be futile. The best option right now is to notify the outside world and seek help. But Internal Paladin has already taken the initiative to lead the team to the scene. He is determined to give Landy a fair deal as soon as he speaks. As the number of sacrifices gradually increases, the summoning array finally accumulates enough energy to initiate the summoning. Red magic power continuously surges out, breaking through the mountain. Inzi finally gets his wish, enjoying the scene of victory. Behind him, Internal's team is continuously reading out Inzi's crimes. But they were mocked by Inzi for appearing at such a timely moment. It seems that their vigilance in times of danger is commendable. Golden looked at the arguing in front of him, but the Paladin Templar, who seemed oblivious to the operation of the formation, felt puzzled. Shouldn't the Paladin's order, who protect the people and guard the city, act on the formation as soon as possible? Inzi suddenly appeared handsome and tall in the field. A surge of magic power infused into the higher rank race, breaking through the earth. The high-pressure magic power capable of tearing mountains and rivers apart, along with the enormous body, made everyone present shiver in fear. Facing the fourth-rank race monster Inzi summoned by themselves, they also ran away at the first time. The Silver Armor Corps watched as the mountain collapsed and the city-state was about to fall. He turned around to seek the captain's signal on whether they needed to organize rescue efforts for the city-state. But he was met with a sentence from Internal Paladin. Have you ever seen such a Paladin King? A crisis is unfolding here. The city is on the brink of destruction, yet on the other side, the Paladin King is inexplicably chasing a floating puppet in the air, running madly. Last time, Linda's extreme maneuver scared off Sakura Butterfly, resulting in her accidentally wrapping herself up and suffocating. In the end, White Princess saved her by charging her up. White Princess had just put down Linda in a safe area when she saw a blue puppet flying in the sky. The very familiar puppet instantly reminded White Princess of the unknown crystal mission entrusted by the old Paladin. Princess White followed to the inn. He did find out that the doll transformed into Bolton, an online child guardian. The toy children cheered, "Grandpa!" An infernal creature appeared behind Grandpa. However, the infernal creature was taken down by Princess White with 3 slashes of the knife. Princess White was panting heavily. Without exchanging pleasantries with Bolton, Bolton caught a glimpse of the crystal in Princess White's hand. He felt deeply touched. So he took out the crystal pendant that had been hidden for many years. Listening to Princess White's crystal's origin, Bolton, gradually falling into memories. The Bolton family was massacred back then, and it was the old Paladin's intervention that saved young Bolton from the disaster. And then, the old Paladin even brought Bolton back home and treated him as family. They lived like this for many years. One day, the old Paladin went out in a hurry to search urgently for the safety of the whole city. After explaining the matters of the basement, he hurriedly left. Before leaving, the old Paladin's words, "Go home for dinner," started small Bolton on a long wait. That night, unexpectedly, the ancient mirror in the basement started to light up. After Bolton finished dealing with the infernal creature, when he returned home, the house was already engulfed in flames, beyond saving. Over the years, Bolton has steadfastly held his ground at the inn, refusing to evacuate. He only hoped for the return of the old paladin, but in the end, he waited in vain. What will happen next? Audience members are welcome to subscribe to the channel and listen to me recount the story. It is a survivor of the ancient inscribed clan. Many years ago, he narrowly escaped a disaster and was taken in and raised by humans. It's clearly a happy script of surviving against all odds. In the end, he turned into a pretentious and pesky old man. Years ago, old Paladin was worried that Bolton's identity secret might be exploited and had been secretly investigating the ethnic legends. Unexpectedly, he disappeared without a trace and was never heard from again. Bolton led Prentice White to the crystal tower built by their ancestors as an offering to the gods. He took out the last two pieces of the connecting crystal, climbed the old tower, and accepted this moment of destiny. In the city, fourth-rank race Madeira, the original sin, is wreaking havoc on the city located in the main plain. The cries for mercy inside the city are incessant. Bolton suddenly introduced Prentice White to the ancestral motto of the inscribed clan. When a clansman is in distress, offering blood to the half-ruined tower and praying will bring forth protection for the faithful. Today, Bolton only hopes that Prentice White can be placed safely. Those unlucky children are already free from any worries. Bolton transforms into Morbat, the god of inscriptions. Facing off against Madeira. Madeira relies on having hands and feet to grab a handful of dirt, but Bolton doesn't give in either. He sent a tail to deliver a forceful uppercut. Madeira sees the opportunity to grab and make Bolton suffer. Prentice White watched Godzilla battle live for the first time and was thrilled. On the other side, the battle between Madeira and Bolton is in a stalemate. Madeira is becoming more excited and brave as the fight continues. In the end, Madeira made a decisive move and subdued Bolton. Unexpectedly, Madeira was then wrapped around by Bolton's tail. Then it was hit by Bolton's dynamic light wave. But Bolton's charged attack did not elicit fear from the opponent. Madeira opened her third eye to counterattack while exhaling. Bolton was hit head-on, but still refused to let go. Bolton knows that the god of inscriptions is now just a wisp of a soul, and may not have the power to defeat Madeira. Now, with the last bit of strength, he broke through the barrier, waiting for Prentice White to deliver the final blow. Prentice White took aim at Madeira's weak point, and took her down with one strike. Madeira never believed that her proud fourth-rank race would fall at the hands of humans. In the end, it perished in its own gluttonous agony. The dreadful and long night is illuminated by the daylight. Fourth-rank race offline. Bolton finally reunited with his family at the other end. This is a broken knife that looks so dull that it can't even cut butter, but it was this broken knife that managed to strike down the glorious fourth-rank race that far surpassed human existence. In the previous issue, we mentioned that Bolton burns the last bit of his own life. He turns into the god of inscriptions, joining forces with Prentice White to successfully kill fourth-rank race Madeira. Dawn broke, and the quiet arrival of the light of victory. The dawn of Source City heralded Prentice White and others' complete victory. As the scene shifted, Prentice White arrived at Bolton's hotel. He faced a group of innocent and naive children. Prentice White could only inform them. Grandfather Bolton went to see his benefactor and won't be able to come back to visit the children for a short period of time. But please believe that, no matter how far apart, Grandfather Bolton has always been silently guarding the children, guarding you. The matter is temporarily settled. Prentice White has taken the children back to the headquarters of the Paladin's Order. He not only defeated the fourth-rank race, but also exposed the conspiracy of the Radiant Paladin's Order. Prentice White's identity as the Paladin King is now well known to the public. Tua Lin is expressing deep gratitude for Princess White's outstanding performance. But the sword given to Princess White is indeed quite severely damaged. I'm sorry. Tua Lin let out a sigh. After all, this incident is really not easy to resolve. After speaking, Tua Lin looked at Princess White's weapon that defeated 4th rank race. Tua Lin said, "It's strange. Clearly, it looks like a piece of broken copper and rotten iron that can't even cut butter from its appearance. No one would use this kind of sword now." Just as Tua Lin was still busy looking up and down at the butter sword, a sword aura suddenly emerged, startling Tua Lin. Does this broken copper and rotten iron still have sword spirit? Tua Lin reminded Princess White on purpose when surprised if this sword really has sword spirit. Then he must think carefully about how to use it. After speaking, Tua Lin also informed Princess White of an important message. The younger sister of Princess Moon of House Flame Spear from Princess White, engaged to someone from the 13 holy families. Do you want to go back and take a look? However, 6 years ago. Bang! Accompanied by a crisp sound. The scene of Princess White wielding a small knife to attack her mother was witnessed by Princess Moon. The mother was stabbed in the abdomen, blood flowing profusely. Princess Moon could not believe the scene before her eyes. Princess White, who looked pale and troubled on the side, seemed to be suggesting that everything was not as simple as it appeared. He was originally the honorable paladin king among humans, but he was banished from his home as a child for assassinating his mother. That happened 6 years ago with House Flame Spear. Princess White couldn't believe the scene in front of him. Even when he heard about the commotion, his father swiftly led his guards to the scene of the incident. When his father arrived at the scene, Princess White had already become a perpetrator with conclusive evidence, not giving Princess White a chance to explain at all. Father Princess Feng Feng keeps convicting Princess White based on the evidence in front of him, no matter how his sister explains on the side. He didn't listen to a word of Princess Moon's explanation on the side. Under those sharp eyes, Princess White seemed to see through everything. He did not provide too much explanation and straightforwardly admitted that he was the culprit of this incident. The loss of the sacrificial vessel is a very important matter, isn't it? If I could steal it, then I could definitely make you lose face at the ceremony, Princess White said, but in his heart, the unbelieving Princess Moon on the side has not recovered yet. Princess White was completely kicked out of the house by Princess Feng. Now, 6 years later, for Princess White, that home has become too unfamiliar to him. You look very troubled, young master. Coming towards us was old Yu, who used to be Princess White's steward. Even after all these years, old Yu and Princess Moon have always believed in the fact that Princess White is still alive. Now it seems that it's true. But what has always puzzled Princess White is why his younger sister resorted to using force against him in the first place. At the same time, in a household where they have no money to pay the electricity bill, Sakura Butterfly is extremely self-blaming for her failure to complete the task. Failing to meet the expectations of father is indeed a dereliction of duty. If it weren't for that detestable paladin quest, the task would have been completed for sure. However, the old cunning father not only did not blame Sakura Butterfly, but also gave Sakura Butterfly a chance to redeem herself by grabbing the butter sword, called Shattering Delusions. That is something that should not exist in this world. As for that paladin, you can deal with it as you please. Pay attention, the beautiful girl in front of you was seen bathing by just an ordinary little girl. She started fighting with the little girl. To continue from the last time, in the previous issue we talked about, Princess White met the butler old Yu, and Sakura Butterfly took action again. In a park somewhere. Old Yu mentioned that Princess White must have already known about Princess Moon's recent engagement news. Ever since Princess White left home, Princess Moon has become increasingly quiet. He watched Princess Moon, who grew up with him, become like this? Old you really couldn't bear it in his heart. He earnestly asked Princess White to meet Princess Moon before the wedding.